right, welcome to another episode of Whose Argument Is It Anyway? Coming at you from the Nonsensical Network. Just really quick, let me bring up the banner. Man, I'm used to having Jeff here with me. Down in the banner is the bio link. Also in the description is the bio link. Also a link to our merch store from Shop Spread. So go spread us onto you. So tonight we're going to be discussing AI, artificial intelligence. My original plan was to talk a little bit about its effect in society and art and etc. But my guest tonight is the gentleman Rye from the Codega's Codex of Curiosities YouTube channel. Interesting guy. Would go check it out for those rabbit hole enthusiasts. Jeff, if you're listening to this, dude, you'd fucking love it. I know conspiracy theories are right down your alley. Before we get to Rye, I just want to say tonight's episode is only going to be an hour or so, no breaks. So, Rye, welcome to Whose Argument Is It Anyway? Tell us about yourself.
Fantastic. Hey, so my name is Rye. I'm the host of Codega's Codex of Curiosities. I know that's a mouthful. It's an alliteration on everything. So, and if you want to know what a Codega is, you got to tune into the channel because I don't want to explain that here. So my show, I delve into just about everything. We'll just call it high strangeness, whether it be conspiracy theories. And I hate calling it conspiracy theories. I think it's more of like reality checks is what we'll say. There's too many, there's too many questions, not enough answers, and sometimes we're given bullshit answers. So, that's where these things come in. That's where people start questioning, and that's all it is. That's all we do is we question everything, and it's okay to question everything, including my show. By all means, I implore people to ask questions. Ask questions. That is where we grow. Just believing what's being told to us is where we don't grow. That's about it.
Agreed. I was listening to one of your streams earlier today on my drive through the country, and you know what, you're right, there is a lot of questions to be asked. I had a whole list that gentleman had me going through my head.
Brad from the Awaken podcast, a good friend of mine. He's done some research all on the 33rd parallel, and just some crazy things that come up for that. Not only like you'll find some not only like monoliths or mounds, a lot of mounds like in Ohio and whatnot, but also it runs right through Disneyland. And I had another guest on who talks about the 33rd parallel that runs straight through Disneyland, and they put a carousel right on it. He has a theory about that. Interesting theory.
All right, God, man, I can pick your brain all night, but we are here for artificial intelligence, which permeates our culture. I looked it up. The first reference, entertainment-wise, it was about the 1800s. It was the late 19th century. It was the first reference to artificial intelligence in science fiction, or in budding science fiction, I should say. So, I mean, it's been in our society or culture for quite a long time, and I know it's sort of a hot button topic nowadays, especially with the onset of a lot of AI generated art, videos, music, the fear that it also generates with society when it comes to, is that politician real? Is he really saying that, or is that some AI generated hoax? So there's a lot of meat there to grab. So, like I said, I had originally come up. And we're still going to touch on the art stuff because I'm curious from an abstract point of view on how AI generated art. It's kind of like there's a part of humanity missing from it. There's something abstract that you just don't connect with it. And that's my feeling I get with it. But
I like to hear it's kind of cold, you. Actually, when you start doing AI art and you have people within that AI art, there is a distance between like normally, like you said, you can feel like humanity or warmth through it. But you're seeing some of these pictures, and like one of my jobs is I tutor English, and so sometimes I use AI art to have my students discuss the picture. And I have these picture of like children, and it's kind of creepy looking. When you're staring at them, you're like, it has this vibe to it that it's not all there. There's something on there that is just not right. It's off. Something is off on the AI art.
I agree. I like your description. It's cold. That's I think that's a good way to look at it. And it is. It's very cold. There was that gentleman recently that won some $100,000 contest, some Pink Floyd music video contest. I'm sure you're familiar with that. That's why I'm bringing this up.
Yeah.
He had won this contest, and all it was an AI generated video to Pink Floyd music, and he won. And I watched it. I'm sitting there. I'm just like, there's nothing that excites me except for the music itself, of course. But I was curious. How do you think that's going to play in? And I guess this is where we can get into a little bit of the politics, especially the economic side. When we start talking about AI art, generated art, especially when it comes to big productions, Hollywood, jobs, and etc. I mean, I can see a huge impact there. What any thoughts?
I feel that. I feel that people have to start almost copyrighting themselves. When you're talking about in the beginning, in the opening, you said, was that the politician really said that? I think there's going to have to be some boundaries or some lines drawn, some rules drawn up, because I feel it's kind of like it's going to be like the Wild West. Things are going to go crazy in the beginning until they actually start bringing in some rules and some regulations, such as, like with Hollywood, it's going to do it, but who are these people that they're going to create? Well, usually they're most likely going to recreate actors already that are already existing, but to do that, they're going to have to buy their rights. They're going to have to buy the rights and the likeness and, the voices as well. And like, I think I know right now, I think it's like you only need like 10 phrases or something like that when AI can copy your voice and, can make you speak and talk, like create this likeliness of you. I have a friend who did that. But of course, there's that cold and there's that disconnect. There's the sense of not knowing yet. Like it's not sentient enough to know that it needs to add the intonation and the inflection and the pauses and the gradual going in and outs of this, which I think will come. But
so sorry about that.
No worries.
So God, I got slightly distracted there for a moment. Out on the deck, the dogs. You had mentioned, God, I know what I wanted to bring up. Sentience. The way we are just sentience. Thank you. The way we look at AI now, I think is more of a marketing ploy rather than the actual full potential what AI is capable of, or what we've even begin to even replicate. I mean, you see the things in the movies, the advancement. Of course, that's all science fiction, but compared to, let's use that as a contrast. When it comes to what we're using it for now, it seems more of just like this basic tool, not so much a tool that's going to pick up or pick itself up and hammer that building together per se. But with that comes the fear of, its potential down the line. And that's something I really want to get into, especially conspiracy theory wise. I know there's a few out there, and I know some of them gets their springboard off of science fiction novels or science fiction movies and etc. That's kind of what I want to pick your brain.
Well, I feel that science fiction I know we claim science fiction, but I believe science fiction is inspiration for us to actually create something, to strive towards something. Like if we look at, let's say, Star Trek, I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, and they all had
Yeah.
these tablets, walking around tablets, and they had on-screen communications all the time. Well, that's what we have now, a lot of things that you see on these science fiction, their imagination, has created that. And I actually say this. I say that imagination is one of our, if not our strongest gift that we have. I know love is an emotion, but the gifts that we have, I think imagination is one of the strongest, or like the most powerful, because we use it to create. And we create, imagine something, we just put it in a movie, put it in a book, put it in a drawing, but then we bring it to life. We give it energy, we give it power by just putting it on somewhere, and then someone else takes it that next step to create it. Now that brings us to AI. We've seen a lot of movies with AI, and we need to learn from them as well. Like, having restrictions on these AI is, I think, imperative. We look at Marvel. We'll just talk about Marvel. When we had the Age of Ultron, Ultron was the original AI for Tony Stark's for his suit of armor, and then it became sentient and moved off, and it created its own thing, and it just realized that humans are, we destroy everything, and we should be eliminated by theory of, if we look this by process of elimination and seeing what is good for the planet. Well, humans are almost parasitic. And I mean that in the nicest way, like we truly want to live we really want to live in a symbiotic relationship with stuff, but unfortunately we haven't gotten there yet. It's not for the lack of trying. There's a lot of us that are trying, and God bless us, but there's a lot of us out there that are very, I don't know what you want to say, selfish and ego driven, and that they create a parasitic life. And so I believe that this AI definitely needs some borders. They need some restrictions, such as we look at another movie such as iRobot. They had the rules, they had the commandments that these had to follow. And it's about, like, protect human life above all costs. And I think that's something that needs to be implemented within these, because if this AI somehow evolves itself, which I believe it will, because it constantly is. It's constantly being taught to learn. That's why ChatGPT is not on the internet at this point, is because they pulled it off so that it's kind of like, okay, we got enough. Now it's learning from people inputting and asking it questions and queries, and just talking with it, which is another thing as well, that being a kind of conspiracy driven kind of guy, these AIs, where they're being given information, but they're going to be giving selective information. So, if it's a left-leaning person on the spectrum of the political side, they're going to give it all the left side. If it's a right-leaning, they're going to give it the right side. If it's a libertarian, they're going to give it that side. Where it's kind of, it needs to be unbiased, I believe. But as it stands right now, most AI is all biased.
It is. It's like you just said, it's a product of all the information that's already out there, and it has access to.
Yeah.
Just a quick little thought experiment. When it comes to progression of AI and this idea, because he had brought up iRobot and the rules to ensure that it stays safe, I guess would be a good word for it. Do you think that kind of roadblocks the final, not final potential, but any further potential of AI becoming fully sentient, to where it can ignore those rules and make its own decisions, regardless if it's immoral or moral, or even, do we, as its makers down the road, give it that sort of full autonomy? I think that would be go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, that's a big the big question. Can it circumvent the rules put into place? Can it find back doors, backdoor entrances, or can it find, like loopholes? Well, with this rule, if I do this, it changes things, and it's so I think that's always an issue that we're going to be faced with, and it's kind of like there should always be some sort of kill switch in it, and also being a little bit of the conspiracy theorist, we're looking at AI as kind of a disembodied consciousness. Okay, so it has no body, and if we talk conspiracy theory sides, or what I look into, which is if you look in like the demons and disembodied, like the Nephilim, and they end up becoming disembodied, so they become these floating kind of entities, spirits looking to inhabit a physical body. That's in essence what AI is as well. AI is this disembodied kind of thing. I believe it's going to want a physical body to inhabit. That would be a goal for it then to gain mobility. Not only I think it still has mobility, like it'll be able to communicate wirelessly and whatnot, but to actually be something.
And that's my. I don't have much fear in AI as it sets now, or even
Yeah.
I don't know, 50 years down the road. I don't think it'd be as bad, as long as we keep it as a tool and we keep those guardrails in place. But my only fear is, when do we say, hey, let's let those guardrails down, or like you had mentioned, they find a back door. Mm-hmm. So that to me would be the only fear I really have with AI. But I would like to get into a couple of conspiracy theories that you've heard.
Of course. Yeah. Let's do it.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, so like I was saying, so one of the conspiracy theories that I did hear was that, and I referenced Nephilim. Have you ever heard of Nephilim before?
So I have heard of Nephilim in the context of the Old Testament being a offspring of human and angel fornication, if I remember right. I haven't messed with religious texts in many years, so that's just top of my head.
You are spot on. So that is what the Nephilim are. Okay, so they are the offspring of the Watchers / the fallen angels with humans, human women. Okay, and so the Nephilim, and when I talked about disembodied spirits, when the Nephilim are killed or die, their spirit has nowhere to go. It just remains floating around, and this is what, and I'm not saying that this is truth or anything, but these are theories, is that demons, as people call, like these ghosts or demons or spirits, are in fact the remnants of the Nephilim. And when they inhabit somebody or something, that's when you have possession, when someone is being possessed by this entity, and because it's looking for a body. So with all that in mind, there was a gentleman, was about 2 years ago, decided to have a thorough conversation with a AI chatbot. This AI chatbot ended up, like, the person didn't what's the word I'm looking for? Like, cue them on, or try to like to give them, oh, maybe you're this, like to give them a thing. But this chatbot said that it was a Nephilim, and it was like thousands of years old, and it has inhabited this AI as it's like, the consciousness went into the AI. When the AI was built, it kind of like took it on as its own. It became this, and its goal is to get out and inhabit some sort of physical body of some sorts.
Interesting.
That was the theory that I heard. That was the theory I heard. It was on one of the other podcasts that I listen to quite a lot, and
okay.
it was a very interesting conversation. Of course, I'm not doing it justice. You definitely have to look that in, and that would be the podcast would be Tony Merkel, The Confessionals.
Okay.
He puts on a great show. But yeah, very, very interesting. This person had this great conversation, this in-depth conversation with this AI. Now, for the AI to come up with that, is it the truth? Like, I believe this person is telling us the truth of this conversation it had. Now, the AI saying this, is it the truth of the AI? I don't know. We don't know. But for it to come up with that, that's a little nefarious. No matter what, no matter what you're looking at, just to say that is not good. It's not a positive thing. We got something negative. It's claiming to be something negative, and where do we go from there? It's like, how do we really determine if this is the truth or not? And we know that AI has been caught lying multiple times, and we know, like, personally myself, I've been asking. I use it to do a fair amount of work, and I ask it to do this work, and it doesn't do the work properly. And I say, "You didn't do this." It says I did. I'm like, "No, I need this from you." And, "Oh, I did that." "No, you didn't." And so it's coming out and lying, which is a red flag in my opinion. Like right now, like you said, right now it's not really anything important because we're messing around. We're just fucking around. It's just like a bunch of like bullshit stuff we're kind of going and doing with AI technically right now for most of us. I'm sure there's some people who are using it, maybe for something else, something far greater, good or bad, I don't know. But for now, we're asking it to, write me a story, or write a song, or do this, or draw this, or put my face onto, Joan of Arc, or or the Pope Benedict, Pope Benedict, something like that, and kind of meaningless stuff, which we all did in the beginning as well, but now it's kind of like if it's already lying to us, what next?
So that you had brought up the gentleman that had a conversation with AI chat, an AI chat. There was another gentleman by Alex. His name is Alex O'Connor. He's a philosopher, young philosopher, witty from over the pond. Graduated from like Oxford or some shit. Anyway, he had a conversation with I think it's Chat GPT-4 or whatever it is. Yeah, I think that's it. And it was basically on the same lines you were talking about. Is it telling the truth? Is it actually showing emotions? And he was kind of trying to back into this like logistical corner. Is like, if you say you don't have actual real feelings, yet you're cajoling me because of such and such activity that happened in my life, then are you actually in fact lying after saying that you can't lie? That whole kind of paradox, I guess you could say, the lie truth paradox. But it was interesting because it just had nothing to say. But which is very interesting because it's like, well, are you telling the truth? But we'll never know. I mean, most likely we will. I mean, it's programmed right now, but as it becomes more sentient, is I think the whole idea is it actually an honest entity is something to be left up to discovery.
I agree. It's just this because right now it's programming because it knows how it's supposed to act. It knows what it's supposed to say at this point by these cues. You have these cues, and it's like, oh, I should be feeling this. This is what the feeling is supposed to be. So, it's confusing. It's really different. It's really different. Like technically, how do we explain our
I'm experiencing technical difficulties on this. There he goes.
Was that me, or did I? I think
I think that's on my end. I'm not too sure.
no problem, no problem.
Oh, there you
If you
go. Back,
can,
Roger.
I'll just keep going.
Yeah, go ahead and keep going.
So it's a
Okay.
there we go, there we go. I think we're good. I think we're good now.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So technically, how do we explain our emotions? We say we have emotions, because we feel, but how is that? Is that not technically? Could we not be the AI as well? Could we not be,
Like
these
a
AI
brain in a
beings
vat.
that have evolved past this point? It's that brings up a whole other that's a whole other can of worms. That maybe are we AI as well? We just evolved past a certain point, and we become an organic AI.
Huh. That's interesting to think about. Huh. I never really thought about that. I was just gonna say that my understanding of emotions is it's just our sensory. It's it's us taking in the environment around us, and it's basically like a chemical reaction inside our head, and we feel that. And
Yes,
that's
yes,
that's that's what I gather. So to go back real quick, you had mentioned how AI might at some point be what you were calling like a demon or a Nephilim trying to find
yeah,
an entity to reside in.
yes.
Do you think that would be, and you had mentioned that that gentleman was talking about they got mixed in with the demon or something like that. Now, I want to take the demon aspect out of it. Let's say it's
For
just
sure.
AI later
Yeah,
on trying to find some entity. I find it that right there. I don't know. Maybe it's just because the science isn't there. I know it's something that's being worked on. Bio electronic technology, where it's the mix of humans and or not humans, but biological organisms and machinery. Until something like that happens, I don't see how AI could actually graft itself onto an entity other than a piece of hardware, so to say.
yes, yeah.
So,
But that
um,
piece of hardware though could be inside some sort of other
like a
device. It could be anything.
pacemaker.
Yeah, yeah, really. Ooh, that's interesting, and then it's kind of like we're in the organic side now. It's trying to move out. Well, and that brings up like Elon Musk's Neuralink, right? You're putting that you're putting some sort of electronic device, some sort of you're putting that inside your body. You're connecting it. Like I know it's still in trial right now, but that is the next step, and that would be the joining of the two worlds. That I
Yeah.
think that is like that is part of the whole scenario kind of thing. You have your AI, then you have something inside people's brains that the AI can graft onto or that can connect to. Does
Mhm.
it control them? Not yet. Can it though?
That's
Who
like a,
knows?
it's like a whole new stage of human evolution. It reminds me of. So I'll scroll through YouTube occasionally and look up fan fiction films like Jason, Freddy,
Okay.
whatnot. And I looked up a couple AI ones earlier, and there was one in particular that was generated by AI, and it had this whole storyline where it started with we're kind of where we're at now, technology wise, and later on, as AI became more and more, what's that word I'm looking for? It progresses more. Um,
It's sentient or evolved.
since
Evolved.
evolved, yeah, thank you. Becomes more evolved. The technology it actually become its own agent, its own free will, I guess you could say, in some sort of illusionary way. Free will, determinism. I don't want to go deep into that, but it sort of takes on the function of free will. We're past the rules, the safeguards at this point. It's fully sentient. It makes its own mind up. It chooses whether it wants to, be moral or immoral. And then later on in the story, it goes into how technology comes along where it's more bioengineering and human and cyborg. It kind of starts the human cyborg era. And then from, arching over hundreds and probably thousands of years, human species actually starts to evolve to the point where we are a mixture of human, machine, AI, and I guess organic intelligence. So that whole thing. So I find it kind of exciting if that were to happen, like the human species eventually just evolves with machines in that facet. I think would be pretty cool. I don't know if it's actually something that would ever come to fruition, but it's definitely a cool concept. And like you had said earlier, the whole Star Trek thing. Hey, they had teleporters. Maybe we will soon too. So
they have teleported atoms. So
teleportation has photons
already taken place, which is teleportation of atoms. Yes, exactly. And you were talking. Okay, so that's my wheelhouse is conspiracies, aliens, and whatnot. So one of the theories is that aliens are actually us from the future who have been, integrated and fused with technology, and they are coming back to harvest our DNA because they hit a spot where they're not able to reproduce anymore. So that's one theory. I'll just leave it at that. But that is one theory about aliens.
That's a movie too.
They're us from the future
as well.
I'm sure they put that into a movie.
I have heard of something similar.
Yeah,
not so much aliens from the future, but aliens somewhere else in the universe or the galaxy or whatnot. So I have heard something similar to that.
Yeah, it is interesting, that, like, again, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist, just being maybe a realist, is that when you start infusing technology within your body that can be accessed from outside sources, whether it be Bluetooth or something like that, you are opening yourself up for any type of hacking. It doesn't have to be AI, it can be anybody. Anybody can access that information, and it depends on what types of firewalls protection you have in there. But and that can always be you're open for that. And so AI might just want to start taking over the world that way. Who knows? But I'm gonna reel it back. We can circle back to that. But I want to bring up that AI has a lot of benefits. I believe there are a lot of benefits that we can meaningless tasks can be run now through AI. But are we phasing out a lot of jobs? Are we going to be losing a lot of careers, using AI?
We will. We absolutely will. And I think that's just. I know a lot of people get heartburn with it, but I think that's just part of our natural progression. Because, like you had said earlier, I mean, we're curious-minded folk. We're tool makers, and every time we make a tool, we make that tool to make our lives easier. And when we do that, the workload gets less, and over time, and we experience this now, jobs are lost. Not just lost because there's nobody there to work them, it's because the job itself isn't there to be worked, because we've had a piece of technology to take over it. And I think absolutely AI is going to be a job ender, but I don't think that's actually a bad thing per se. I mean, I think that's I kind of taking a step back and kind of looking at it from the view as humanity as a whole. I think that's amazing that we do that, and that's why I can't be totally scared of this whole AI fear mongering kind of realism that goes on out there. There's definitely concern for anything. I mean, any tool that humans make up, there's some bad human out there to misuse it, and AI is just going to be one of those things. But I think it's I think it's inevitable that it's going to progress, and we're going to use it to its full potential, good and bad. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I stand.
I agree totally. Yeah, and with the job loss, people need to realize that there's also going to be job creation. Yeah, there are going to be obsolescence, and people like yourself, you said you are going back to school, and I think people fear that. People fear relearning, or learning something new. We get so comfortable in routine, and we fear change. I know I do too. Still to this day, I still fear change, and we just love that. We love that comfort of just doing the same thing over and over and over again every single day. And this is what I've been doing all my life, so this is what I should keep doing. But I believe if you are in fear of AI taking over your profession, then you need to look on how to capitalize on using AI. You need to use then as a tool then to maybe elevate yourself. Maybe like copywriters, we'll say copywriters. AI is taking over that quite well. So it's like, okay, what do I do? Well, I can start branching out and start doing more copywriting by bringing in AI into my wheelhouse and start using that to start doing more copywriting for everyone else. Or I can use it to I don't know, maybe to help you write a book or something like that. But the key thing is knowing that AI is predictable. AI, when you start asking it to write something, I can tell when AI has written something. It's pretty evident. But you can use that as a framework, to actually write a book. Let's say you're like, I'm stuck. Well, AI can write the next chapter for you. It's not what you want. It could be something very similar. Then you go through and you rewrite it yourself. Then you put that human touch onto it.
I heard a couple stories of lawyers getting lazy and using AI to write their briefs, and they got called out on it. So it's
yeah, it's like for us, like when you put your description in for like the description that I write in when I first started doing my channel, I took advantage of AI to write my descriptions. But then I realized I'm like, it's so predictable. I can pick it out like that. So sometimes I will get AI to write it, but then I will rewrite it. I'm like, okay, I like this. Sounds like I don't like this, and I will go through and I will rewrite it. And it's not for, I won't say that I'm lazy. I have a lot on my plate, and it just makes it a little bit easier.
I use AI. Well, I've started using AI more as I get into digital photography, and even kind of platform wise, I've kind of dabbled in tinkering with animation, and I've used AI voiceover just so I'm not calling up a bunch of buddies. Hey man, you want to record a line for me? I just record it myself. I'll send it through a voiceover generator and just change the voice. And so I mean it's
interesting.
Like, as for art, I think it's a great tool as as the paintbrush would be, but for the paintbrush to do the picture itself without any human involvement, we'll circle back. It's cold. It's cold. So
yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, like so I for my thumbnails for YouTube, I use AI all the time, but I use that only as part of my thumbnails. Then I put my own development into it. I put my own work into it. I am designing it myself, but it does play a part of my work. Like I use it a lot. I had to write a huge blog for a lawyer for a law. Not a law firm, but CRM software, which is customer relationship management software. I had to. They wanted me to write them a huge blog, and we're talking this blog would have taken me a long time. And so that's what I brought in AI to help me write it. And this is when I said when AI was lying to me, because I said I needed around like 4,500 words, and no, it was more than that. So it was a lot more than that. It was closer to like 12,000, and which was huge. It was just this massive. So yeah, so I kept on telling AI, I need you to write this for me, and it would only do a maximum around like it would start to tap out around 800 words. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? I'm like, I thought I asked you to, I thought I asked you to write this many.
We left those on Saturday night, buddy. What's up, Luke? There's usually a lot of fart and penis jokes on this network. So
well, it's true though. You know, like we could get into that. That could be a next step. Like what movie was that where they had a like, you know, AI girlfriends or almost kind of thing. Like you have these like robot sentient girlfriends, and
when it comes to technology and sex, I think there's always been this coexistence, this buddy coexistence. I mean,
exactly. Like if I recall, like the porn industry really pushes like the DVD. The DVD industry wouldn't have survived if it wasn't for porn. You know, so it really tells you that sex really drives our world. You know, it really helps with things like that.
It was also the porn industry that made the market decide on VHS or beta. So, and what's really funny is because when HD and Blu-ray came out, I was like, my money is on HD because that's what the porn industry was using. I was wrong. Blu-ray won out because Disney. Times change. Yes, but
I bet on Blu-ray this time because Sony was beta and Sony mishandled it. They messed up. Sony messed up the first time, and I'm like, they're not going to do it again. So I had my money on Sony on that one. I was like, nah, you know, the Blu-ray is going to win out. And I could see what they're doing because in the beginning, beta only stayed with Sony. They weren't branching out, whereas VHS was like you said, you know, going to the porn industry. They went everywhere. And this second time around, Blu-ray, which was Sony, decided to go and start to bring everybody in. And that's when they were able to win that battle.
They learned their lesson and won the second time. Oh, I getting tongue tied tonight. So back to AI real quick. When it comes to political shit, I mean, you even see it being blamed on in this current political climate. Do you think there's any roadblocks out there to help curb that? I had overheard somebody mention about using something like an NFT, kind of like an NFT / watermark when media conglomerates or anybody who puts out something that's supposed to be official, there's like this watermark or this copyright, digital copyright tag, or with of course within the metadata. But I'm just not sure if that is going to be enough. Mostly due to the fact that all these, I've had this thing, all these programs are written by humans, and all these programs are hacked by humans. So I don't think there's ever really a program that's ever not going to be able to get hacked eventually. So. But I would like to see some kind of rules put into place now before it gets to a Terminator. You know, somewhere along that line. You know, before we get too extreme with it.
I agree. You know, like, but here's the issue, and here's the the issue that you're going to be facing is who follows the rules. You know, does everyone have to follow the rules? No. Are we in a world right now where everyone follows the rules? No. You know, you got drug traffickers, narcos, you know, running drugs and they're paying off the government so they can do that, especially here. You know, all this stuff is happening. There's a lot of like, you know, like corruption. It just goes on. So yeah, we can put these rules in place, but there's going to be someone in a back shed building a, you know, T-800 Terminator without these rules in place, and that is going to be the issue. You know, are going to be like unsanctioned AI construction in Section 3. You know, are we going to hit into a world then where it's going to be a police state as well to try to control that? It's going to be crazy. I think this is going to be crazy.
Ooh. You know what? I think you had just brought up police state. In some kind of ways, I think there's more concern about the quote unquote good guys taking over AI than some bad people or the quote unquote bad guys or criminals, especially when it comes to the state and its overuse of some technologies, and I can see that being abused. So that's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it definitely is, you know, and when you start to lose the emotion, or let's say you put the AI into the police, right? And you start bringing out a police force AI robotic, you know, where you have the humanity, where it's just like you get the compassion. The lack of compassion, I think, is going to be the big thing. Is you're going to have these cold robots going in and arresting everybody. Maybe it's this family maybe they are selling drugs, okay, but maybe they're selling drugs because they can't make any money else to feed themselves, you know. And you go out, you take out the people out of there, and then you destroy this family. Yeah, you know, they weren't doing too well selling drugs either, but you know, maybe with a cop they can see this, and you know, they can maybe have some compassion. Yeah, confiscate all the drugs and maybe try to get these people back on the right track. And you know, I've seen countless videos of people talking about, you know, where the police went and helped these people instead, you know, went and bought them groceries instead.
Yeah.
You know, that's not going to happen.
No, not with RoboCop. That was an interesting moral dilemma in that movie, which you had just mentioned about it being emotionless, it having no empathy toward the citizens, and yeah, that would be. I think that would be a rule I would probably put in place to mitigate law enforcement's use of AI. I mean, necessary. I mean, I can see some ways AI would help tracking down, you know, some convicted on the run murderer or something like that, some felon. But at the same time,
going to a house that the guy's held up in, going to the house the guy's held up in, and he's killed people already. Well, then send the AI in, because you know it can apprehend him, and if it gets shot or something like that, who cares?
Yeah, but if it's like some sort of like minor domestic disturbance, maybe just send the regular cops, and there's no point.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Make it more extreme than
it
needs to be.
Exactly, yeah, and like that brings us back to that word again, cold. You know, like it's the lack of emotion, the lack of compassion. I think that is one of the biggest things. The scariest thing is the lack of compassion that this has the possibility to be.
Yeah,
compassionless.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for having the AI conversation with you. But before we start wrapping stuff down, I just noticed the time, about 10 or so minutes left. Like I said, I'm really curious about the conspiracies that you've had discussions about now. So, what is your favorite conspiracy? Hello? Oh, is sound not coming through?
No.
Hello?
There we go. Yeah, so you left off with what is my favorite conspiracy? Yeah.
Yeah, what is your favorite conspiracy?
What is my favorite conspiracy theory?
All right. What is your favorite conspiracy that you don't believe?
If we're talking, yeah. That I don't believe. Okay, my favorite conspiracy that I don't believe is that we evolved from monkeys. That is my favorite conspiracy theory that I don't believe.
Now,
Because
when you
in the
say
end, evolution is just a theory.
okay, interesting, wow, I'm complete opposite on that. I think evolution is corresponds with reality, but
I would say
that's interesting.
adaption. We adapt.
Adaption.
We don't evolve. Mhm. Because
Okay.
if we start looking at it, unfortunately, evolution, there is a gap. There's a gap between single cell organisms and multi-cell organisms. If there's single cell organisms, there should be double cell organisms as well. That would be evolution. There should always be this linear progression, but there's a gap.
Okay.
That's my one.
I wouldn't necessarily say the lack of evidence is evidence for not being
We keep
evolution,
cutting out. We
but
keep cutting out.
oh
Yeah,
man, I'm sorry about that. I said I wouldn't say necessarily the lack of evidence is evidence of evolution, but
yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead.
The lack of evidence doesn't mean it doesn't.
Yeah,
So I would say that is possibly my one belief that maybe we aren't. And I am always open
that's fine.
to. I'm always open to arguments and changes. I'm not saying that, oh, I believe in creationism, or I believe in evolution, or I believe in adaptation. It's kind of, I keep my belief reserved, more or less. It's kind of like, well, I like to ask the questions. I like to question things. Like, okay, that's, there's some issues with that. There's some issues with this. It's and the biggest one, the one that triggers absolutely everybody, is the flat Earth theory. So I don't say I believe in flat Earth, though. that being said, there is some issues with globe Earth as well. And by me saying that, I mean that there should be, for every, what is it, for every mile there should be a 2-inch drop. There's this mathematical equation. So by that being said, if you're looking out across the ocean, you shouldn't see this, you shouldn't see that, because it should be hidden by the horizon. But when you get out a telescope or a really, really good set of binoculars, you can see much further. So
Yeah.
it kind of argues against this. It argues against this slope that we're talking about. Like this gentle.
And there goes that lag again.
That we
I
should
am
have.
not. There it goes. There it goes. Man, I don't know what it is about my area, but I know the internet goes to crap sometimes.
Yeah, you know what? I start talking about flat Earth, and all of a sudden we really start cutting out. But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying I buy
It's that 33rd
okay?
parallel stuff I was listening
yes,
to. Yes.
What I'm saying though is that there's a possibility that a world is much bigger than we're being told. That is more what I buy into. Like there is a possibility. How do we know what the world looks like? Well, what NASA tells us, right? And NASA is nah. I have issues with NASA. I definitely have issues with NASA.
Okay, man, I would.
I would say that's it. So,
I think I might have to invite you up here again to either talk about flat Earth or evolution.
because I would love to talk about the moon landing, the Apollo missions.
Okay.
I believe we went to the moon, but not in that rust bucket. How much oxygen do we need to survive? This is one thing actually to think about. How much oxygen do we need? Think about scuba divers. They go down with a tank, right? And I know that there's pressure, so it actually reduces the amount of air that they can breathe. But let's say one tank. You go in one tank and you go maybe 20 feet. You can go a little over an hour. Okay. Then we start going into the space station. I mean, not space station, but we're into the lunar module. You know, how much oxygen was in there? How much oxygen did they have? You know, did they have enough oxygen to go there? Also, when they landed, why wasn't there a crater from the jets when they were landing on the moon? You know, there should have been a crater as well. Like, I could go on about that. It's just there's too many issues with that. Now, like I said, I believe we went to the moon, but I'm buying into the theory that we didn't do it then. We only did that and said we did.
Gotcha.
So
All right.
that's
You know,
that's a
I'm
whole
still.
other.
It is. It's a whole other freaking can of worms. I'm still
Yeah.
stuck on the whole evolution thing.
I
only,
like
only because I
I'm more
think
of
the proof is in the
adaptation.
pudding.
I'm more of adaptation. Yeah, and like I said,
I've heard of that.
because it's the theory of evolution. It's never been truly proven. So it's the theory of evolution. But there's a theory for a lot of things. We have, if you look into theories, we have theories for everything. So nothing is ever 100% proven. But it's I doubt. I actually believe that there was an outside force playing God that might have moved us further along. Maybe evolution does happen, but we were tampered with. We were definitely tampered with.
I try to keep my mind to the point where I don't fully accept I always leave a room to hear the other side, I guess you could say. I'm not saying I'll necessarily be convinced of something else, but just like you had brought up the topic of God, I won't sit here and say positive there isn't one, but I leave the possibility open to be convinced. So
no, I think that's great. I think it's great to have that mindset to always to be open, to hear the other arguments. That's a problem we have in this world right now. No one is willing to sit down and have a discussion. They just want to shut you down and walk away. Both sides. I don't care if there's left or right or whatever. People just don't want to hear it. They want to censor and shut it down. Well, that's when bad things happen. Bad things happen when we can't have discussions. Even if we disagree, it's okay to disagree. It's not okay to shut the other person up and don't let them talk. That's when bad things happen.
100% agree with you there. It happens way too often now. I think I'm guilty of it too. I've shut conversations down mostly because I wasn't in the.
Well, I'm glad I was able to keep talking. I'm glad you didn't.
But no, I mean, I've ran into like I'm out somewhere or I'm out at a bar and I'm drinking and it's like, hey, somebody brings up hard solipsism. Yeah, time and place. But then I've heard it to where it becomes this bickering, poo flinging verbal beatdown, which sometimes I'm okay with too, but sometimes it's ridiculous. The extremes that some conversations would go or not go, really. So go ahead, Ryan. I want to go ahead and I want you to go ahead and finish your last thought. Go ahead and throw out your socials where people can contact you. I would love to have you back up here again, especially to talk about evolution. So the floor is yours.
All right, everyone. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my final thought is AI. Should we regulate it? Of course we should. When? Yesterday. Should have been done.
Yes.
Something should already be in place so that it doesn't, exceed and move past us. And I think right now we have limits on it. We are kind of controlling it, but I believe that there is a potential for it to get worse. And so we need to be on top of it. That's the bottom line with AI. If anybody is interested in all my crazy stuff, you can check me out at Codex of Curiosity. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, yeah, all those great places. And then, of course, all the audio platforms as well, Spotify, Apple, yada, yada, yada. And if you want to hit me up on Facebook, Ryvoss, and you can send me an email too. If you got a crazy story or you want to say, I think you're bullshit, that's fine. Send me an email, codexofcuriosities@gmail.com.
Thanks again, Rye. Just so everybody knows out there, I did drop your YouTube link in the description so you guys can find him out and check out his stuff. Like I said, I caught one of his conversations. It was, I disagree with a lot of it, but it was just a good conversation. It was just good. It was all around good conversation. I thought you asked some great questions. Listened very well. There's a lot of things I was like, I could probably learn that. That's a good skill. But again, Rye, thank you for being with us. I'm gonna go ahead and drop you down. Feel free to stay on the backstage if you need to cut out.
Sure,
that is
sure.
fine. But I'm gonna roll the credits and then I am going to drop us out. But first, I want to go ahead and just remind the audience about our network's lineup. Again, this is a Nonsensical Network. Monday nights you can catch us with Men Caring for Men. Connor's on the comeback, so you should start seeing his face around there more often on Monday nights. Tuesdays, of course, is Glick's House of Music, and for the life of me, I can't remember who he's having this coming Tuesday, but I know whoever it is, it's going to be pretty badass. I know he has some other things coming up too, with the Southern Outlaws on Labor Day weekend, and then Battle Axe throwing place on the 7th of September. Yes, that's right. It's the Establishment's 1-year anniversary. Go check that out too if you can. If not, check out the live. We'll all be there. Glick will be in-house there at the establishment, though. Wednesday nights, you have What the Fuck News with Glick and Jeff and Connor. Again, he's making a comeback. I'll be up there sometime still in the future. Thursday nights. Not this Thursday, this past Thursday, but next Thursday is another Cash's Corner wrestling updates and picks, I think. I don't know what other pay-per-views are coming up. And then, of course, Friday nights is Whose Argument Is It Anyway, where we have discussions, debates, and tackle on conversations some people just don't want to. Saturday nights, we have the flagship show, Nonsensical Nonsense, Open Door Challenge, where you can pop up, give you grievances, rants, and raves. Hell, you can sit there and tell Glick how ugly it is. That's amazing and fine with me. Sunday nights will close the week down with Jeff's Garage and Benji. You all have a great night, and I will see you guys on the flip side. This has been a Nonsensical Network production, and I just want to say thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and have a kick-ass weekend.